"Oh boy, I can't wait to go on the interwebs and learn about cone snails," said no one ever, except for me. So you probably know about cone snails from like a National Geographic book you got from a book fair that lists top 10 most toxic animals and told you not to pick up the pretty snails. If you didn't already know that, TLDR, don't pick up the cone snails. They can sting and kill you. Let's jump right into it. What exactly are cone snails? They're just snails that are cone-shaped. But wait, there's more. The main defining trait of cone snails, and the entire reason I'm talking about them, is in their sting. All cone snails are part of the family Conidae, and all of them are able to sting. They sting by launching what is effectively a harpoon at their prey, which is pretty badass if you ask me. The other standout trait in cone snails is their shells. My drawings are definitely not going to do them justice, so I'll just show a few pictures. From around the 18th to mid-20th centuries, shell collecting was like the NFT collecting in 2021. One cone snail species, Conus gloriamaris, also known as the glory of the seas cone, which acted like the bored apes to the seashell NFT market. Since no one knew where these snails lived, their value was greatly inflated by the scarcity of the specimens. That, combined with the shell actually living up to the moniker glory of the seas, made them very valuable. Because of this, rich European dudes collecting shells made up a whole bunch of playground rumors regarding them. One of my favorite of these rumors is that a massive earthquake swallowed the entire rest of the species, so they're now extinct, which is just hilarious. If I heard that, I'd probably just give away my shells to someone I didn't like because it was obvious God had it out for these snails. What ended up happening with these snails is that due to advancements in scuba technology in the 1960s and 70s, the snail's habitat was actually found off the coast of the Solomon Islands. Since rich people could no longer use them to lord their wealth over the peasants, their price crashed. Now you can find listings for about $100 to get a Glory of the Seas shell, which is still expensive, but unlike NFTs, you actually do get something. And just look at the shell. I'd say that's almost not a complete waste of money. Also, if you're enjoying the video, like and subscribe so I can afford to buy cone snail shells. Thank you. Anyways, back to the cool part about cone snails, their venom. The combination of the shells looking real pretty and the snails being highly venomous leads to an obvious outcome. No touching. Although all cone snails are venomous, only the piscivorous ones, which means the ones that only eat fish, are really any danger to humans since the other ones are just kind of too small. The actual symptoms of cone snail stings are generally numbness, severe pain, swelling, and in severe cases, paralysis, respiratory/cardiovascular failure, and potentially death. If you have been stung and you chose this video for help, firstly, good choice in video. Second, nothing I say in this video should be taken as medical advice. And third, go seek professional medical help. Since cone snail stings are also pretty rare, and also due to another factor which we will talk about shortly, we haven't developed a whole ton of great treatments for their stings, so if you do get stung, there's a decent chance you're just screwed. Even though cone snails have killed some people, it isn't like a massive public health crisis we should worry about. And it also isn't like cone snails are hunting people down, like that one snail hunting down immortal people. The main way people get stung is by picking them up, because, ooh, pretty shell. And then the snail freaks out. If you really want to avoid getting stung by one, just don't kidnap random sea creatures you find in the ocean. This isn't really even advice to keep you safe. It's just kind of mean to do that to the animals. The main snail that's known for stinging people is Conus geographus, or the geography cone, which has a few dozen people on its kill count. And of course, the snail does live off the coast of Australia. The one benefit to this phenomenon is that you get some really funny posts on social media of dumbasses picking them up. So let's talk about the actual venom itself, because this is the really interesting part that I don't see talked about too often. Part of what makes cone snail stings so potent is that the actual composition of cone snail venom is extremely variable, even within members of the same species. Cone snails actually make their own venom, unlike a lot of other dirty freeloader animals who just steal it from another organism. Because of this, the cone snail genome has the genes that encode to make conotoxin possess a much greater tendency to just randomly mutate. Since conotoxins are more likely to slightly change their structures each generation, this means that other animals aren't as easily able to just evolve a resistance to it, kind of like the poison scene from Princess Bride, except over a few thousand years and a lot of dead Wesleys. The side effect of this is that there is a huge amount of just random peptides in a cone snail's venom, and some of these are potentially very useful to humans. There's a lot of ongoing clinical trials for drugs derived from cone snails' venom for things like pain management, diabetes, and a whole bunch of neurological disorders. The reason a lot of the chemicals in conotoxins show so much pharmaceutical potential is that the way conotoxin works is that the snail is just throwing like 100 different variations of conotoxins at their target and just hoping something works. Since each one is almost guaranteed to have some kind of effect, there are a couple compounds in the venom soup that end up being really good at doing things like stopping pain without all the risks of adverse side effects or dependencies. If you ask me, there's a huge amount of potential in conotoxin-derived treatments in the next few decades. This isn't financial advice, but the cone snail market is looking very bright. There is also always the potential that conotoxin pharmaceuticals completely fall flat, but that's part of the reason I love science, because any news that you hear about is technically progress. It could be that conotoxins end up being a panacea to a bunch of diseases, or conotoxins could be a complete medical dead end. Either way, humanity as a whole knows something new, and we can continue working towards a brighter future. Also, their shells look really cool.